PickFU is a self-service consumer research platform that anyone can use to get fast, reliable feedback from real people. You don't need to be a market research expert or hire one to use PickFU. All you need to do is create a poll, choose your target audience, and in minutes, you're going to start getting results. Real written responses from your target audience. You can ask for feedback on just about anything related to your business, marketing material, product designs, product packaging, almost anything. The respondents submit written comments with every PickFU poll. And now you can use the coupon code NOT101, that's NOT101, for a free 15-person poll at pickfu.com, PickFU.com.
Welcome to Business Law 101, a podcast that explores the uncommon side of business, goes beyond the conventional teachings, delves into the practical, real-world strategies and insights from successful founders, entrepreneurs, industry experts that understand what drives growth and how to achieve success in an ever-changing business landscape. So join us, and let's go beyond the basics. Hi, John. How you doing?
Pretty good, Oliver. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us on Business Law 101. So let's get right into it. Please introduce yourself and give us your 60-second business pitch.
Sure thing. My name is John Lee. I'm a co-founder of PickFU. PickFU is a self-service consumer research platform that anyone can use to get fast, reliable feedback from your target customer. You don't need to be a market research expert or even hire one to use PickFU. It's self-service. All you have to do is create a poll, choose your audience, and in minutes, you'll get results. And getting feedback on anything like text, images, GIFs, videos, and audio files. So PickFU can be used for any business person on almost any aspect of your business, whether you're pre-launch and developing product or post-launch and honing your marketing material.
What was the aha moment behind this project? What brought this to light?
My co-founder and I built PickFU as a tool for ourselves. So my co-founder Justin and I have been building businesses for over a dozen years. And along the way, while we were working on a different project, we built PickFU as a side project to help us get unbiased feedback from individuals quickly and privately. We basically built it as engineers. We basically built it in lieu of going to a coffee shop and talking to a bunch of strangers. Instead, we put a poll out to strangers on the internet.
That's really interesting. So this product was the outcome of a previous roadblock from your other startup.
Exactly. We built it to help unblock our own decisions, because as two co-founders, we often butted heads on various things like design decisions, headlines, marketing copy, and so on. And since we were equal partners, we were just debating. Also, we always ask friends and family for feedback, but at a certain point, friends and families get tired of giving you unbiased feedback. And often they're always just going to say, yeah, that sounds great, right?
Yeah, that's 100% true. And sort of asking the 100-person interview is not always easy to do. And so when you decided to launch this business, what were some initial roadblocks that now you've sort of pivoted from your previous business and you said, oh, this is a great project, great opportunity, let's move forward. What new roadblocks arise from this?
Yeah, so the actual pivoting from our main project to PickFU took a number of years. We actually put it on the side. We put a PayPal button on it and put it on the side for a handful of years while we focused on our main project. Every once in a while, we would come back and see that it was growing organically within certain industries and verticals and in certain corporations. And so after some time, we realized that the real opportunity in growing PickFU, because we saw that it was already getting a life of its own. So that was about 4 years ago where we pivoted and started scaling the product and the team. Now, since then, I think the initial roadblocks were helping people understand the right way to ask their questions. A PickFU poll is as simple as putting in one question, choosing your audience, and launching the poll. And after you launch the poll, you start getting feedback. The big question is that you need to formulate the question properly to avoid bias, to avoid asking too many things and stuffing in one question. And so that was one of the initial roadblocks we had as we were trying to scale out the product.
That's really interesting. It's something I didn't think of, because now you're creating something that's sort of very unique for you guys, but it's just sitting there on the side, and now you saw it grow in value. So this leads into my next question is, as entrepreneurs, we wear many hats. And clearly for you, you seem like you have a lot of projects on the go. What is one position you feel that you should outsource right away to to somebody else, a new employee, or a freelancer?
That's a really good question. Yeah, my background and my co-founder's background we're both trained in computer science and had professional backgrounds in software development and product management. So we did a lot of that as we were building the product. And as you said, we've worn many, many hats over the years. I think the one thing that we should have outsourced sooner is actually operations, day-to-day operations, sort of the small and menial tasks, hiring a VA or someone to take care of that. That would have freed up a lot more time for us to really focus on sort of the larger, bigger picture things.
Yeah, I agree. That is, I think business operations and sort of setting up your company properly to run,
Yes.
without you in day to day is super important. So I don't know how much input you have on their marketing, but at the beginning when you were first launching PickFU, what was sort of the way you guys, once you saw that it was getting some traction on its own organically, what were the ways that you suddenly took it from organic to now manually pushing it out through social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still a work in progress for us. As product people, we pride ourselves on having something that is easy to use and delivers a lot of value very quickly. Some of the things we did to lean into that are, like adding something like a referral program. So we added that fairly early on, a user-to-user referral program. Another thing that has worked for us is actually working with notables and influencers in the verticals that we see a lot of usage in, to be able to connect with them, show them the value of our tool. And if they see value in it for their audiences, then they're able to promote to their audiences. And so that way we're able to get our name out there faster.
That's really interesting. Sort of you guys right away jumped into influencers, or was it something you were sort of gradually moved over to?
It was gradual. It was definitely gradual.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you built your first community, your first network around it, did you pull from the original people or users and customers that had pre-purchased before you jumped and pivoted 100% onto PickFU? Did you get a lot of feedback from them in your process of setting up your marketing and as well sort of adjusting your product now for the market?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say that we are the evolution of PickFU as a product has been heavily driven by our customer and talking with our customer and being attuned to their needs and their requests. Almost every feature that we've built has been based on customer requests as we've gone along. And so having a continual conversation with our key customers has sort of helped us evolve the product over time. And then now that we've brought on other partners, like our affiliates, like our influencers, and now we've also started working more with agencies in the verticals that we occupy. We feel that having an ongoing dialogue with all of these, we see them as stakeholders, right, as part of the business. So having an ongoing dialogue with all these different partners is key to us informing our decisions and how we approach marketing and everything else moving forward.
That's a great point. And in terms, not just from the marketing point, but as the sales point, what's the sort of sales cycle look like for you guys?
So PickFU we've worked really hard to make PickFU self-service. So anyone can go onto pickfu.com, create a free account, and then start a poll, often within 10 minutes of signing up. And since our lowest price, we charge per response, and since lowest price, you can choose as little as 15 responses, that means that you can get started for $15. We've leaned hard towards that self-service motion. So most of our audience is self-service. And then what we do is that we work with users who seem to be getting a lot of benefit and value from PickFU. And we reach out and have communicate with them and see how we can support them. So we have a wonderful customer success team that helps elevate existing customers, supports them, and helps them sort of understand how else PickFU could benefit their businesses.
That makes me think, do you actively reach out to your user base and poll them on their experiences? Is this a continuous action you guys would take? Or is it like a one-time after somebody signs up? Or is it only for paid customers?
So generally only for paid customers. We have systems set up to continually ping them about their NPS, right? Their net promoter score, how happy they are with PickFU. For everyone who has a less than happy less than stellar experience, we definitely follow up with them. And then for those who have stellar experiences, we follow up with them as well, like in order to understand what made it good, what could make it better. And so we always have these automated systems set up to constantly reach out to our customer base and take a pulse of how they feel our service is doing.
That's a great thing, because I think a lot of businesses sort of, once they capture the audience, they capture their customers and their user base, they tend just to leave them there until they see a decrease in use or in people not subscribing to the service. And I think it's so important to constantly pull your customers and your sort of your team to be able to do that. So I think that's brilliant. And how are some of the ways that you guys have taken your customers from the free service side to the paid service side? So some of the things you can walk us through, one of the features to get people to go onto the paid side.
Yeah, so that we're kind of different than a lot of other sort of SaaS services because we're tapping into we're built on top of enterprise grade consumer research panels. And we pay those panelists a stipend when they answer our customers' polls. So there's a cost to us, which means that most of the time, our customers pay us first, and then we pay. They pay us to run a poll, and then we pay our panelists, pass that through to our panelists. We don't have a great free version, although we are exploring ways to allow our leads and customers to experience that. What we do offer are coupons for good customers who have a potentially good fit with PickFU. And we'll offer those depending on if maybe they represent like a large organization or something, or we've spoken with them at a conference, then we'll definitely offer free credits for them to try out the platform, make sure that they're able to see the value that PickFU can bring to their business.
What's the percentage of your customers that are going to be large enterprises versus small teams, or let's say under 10 people? Or
right now the vast majority are small teams. Our mission is to basically, I hate the word democratize it. I think it's overused, but it really is to democratize market research. We're trying to put those consumer insights in the hands of the people actually doing the work, instead of leaving it in sort of the ivory tower of a consumer insights team somewhere in some organization. That's our mission. And so that mission resonates with a lot of small entrepreneurs, like solo entrepreneurs, small teams, new businesses who really don't have the time or budget to go through the traditional market research route. But they could absolutely benefit from direct, unbiased feedback from their target customer. So because that message really resonates with the SMB, we have the majority of our customers are SMBs using PickFU in place of sort of a traditional market research agency.
And that's what I felt that your market was aimed at. And I just wanted to double check. Mm-hmm. But that's brilliant, because I do so agree that it's such a difficult thing for small companies and small teams to be able to afford proper market research. Today, it's so costly and time consuming to even be able to take all that data afterwards. So that's my sort of like follow-up question is, on your platform, I'm assuming they're able to get sort of analytics on the data they're collecting of the questions, or is it only the poll responses?
So as I mentioned before, a PickFU poll is a single question with up to 8 options. Like let's say you're a new business and you're trying to compare a logo design. So you can put up to 8 different logo designs, ask a question, choose your target audience. So you can micro-target by all the standard age, gender, income, all that stuff. Plus we have a lot of targeting for e-commerce and gaming related verticals. So if you're launching a gaming startup or something on Shopify, you can target, say, dog owners and whatnot. Once you launch it, responses start coming in immediately. All the panelists will choose the option that they prefer, and they'll also give a written explanation as to why they chose what they chose. So now we have this rich set of written, unbiased feedback from every single person that you've requested, along with demographic breakdown of everyone who answered your poll.
That's a huge amount of information. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sort of going to pivot a little bit here.
Yeah.
But one of the questions I always like to ask people, if you could leave yourself a 30-second or 60-second voicemail to your past self, saying, "Hey, you know what? Should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that." What would it be, and why?
I would tell myself to outsource the daily operations of the business as soon as possible. And the reason I would do that is that there's way too much. It is way too easy for small business owners to obsess over the small details of the day-to-day And that's a trade-off in time. They just don't realize it, but that's a trade-off in time of doing the small stuff while not being able to take it, stick your head up, look at things from like take a bigger picture view of things and be able to plan for the future.
Yeah, that's such a good point. You had mentioned that before. So looking at yourself as a founder, because obviously now I'm assuming you've done more than just the two businesses we spoke about today, right? Having a lot of experience as a business owner and as a founder, what is one trait you feel that entrepreneurs and small business owners should and need to have to be successful in your opinion?
And a thick skin, I would say. Yeah. I think the path of every entrepreneur is going to be different, but one thing that's guaranteed is that it's not going to go as smoothly as you would ever expect. So to be ready for setbacks, to be ready to jump up and bounce back from those setbacks, and be able to be flexible enough to change courses and understand sort of where the winds are blowing and what course you want to get, like what your destination is. Yeah, I think that's super important. I think that every entrepreneur is going to get knocked down. And so it's more about how quickly you're able to get up and stay focused on your goals.
Such great points. Now, looking at you as an entrepreneur, how do you stay focused, but also how does your team stay focused? Some of the tips you can give people saying, this is how our team stays focused and on schedule.
A lot of repetition. So our team, we're a fully remote team. Yeah, we're a fully remote team, have been so the entire time since we've been scaling the team. And so we find that asynchronous communication and sort of raw repetition of our goals, of our targets, of our schedule is really necessary to help get everyone marching in the same direction.
Do you use Slack or Notion?
All of them. Slack, Notion, Asana, Miro. Yeah, a whole bunch of things.
Do you feel like it sort of gets overwhelming, all those platforms? This is one of the questions that I sort of never ask, but at the same time, I get a lot of entrepreneurs come on and they're at small teams, or even some of them have larger teams. And they start naming all these services they use to stay with remote team and also local in office or in-house teams. And I find it's overwhelming. It seems like there's 80 things to be checking all the time. Do you think that's good, or do you think it's overwhelming at the same time?
I think it's overwhelming and horrible. I think it's the paradox of choice, as they call it, right? And so even though we have access and we do have team accounts on a lot of different things, we try to keep it to Notion and Asana in terms of Notion as a knowledge base, Asana for our project management.
Yeah, I use Notion a lot, and I was on a project I was helping out, and they were using Notion and they were using a Slack as well, and they were it was getting overwhelming, and so much information was lost.
Absolutely.
I find these platforms are great, but you almost need somebody there to manage that platform only for the rest of the team. That's how I feel.
No, I totally feel the same way. Yeah, it's easy to get lost.
Yeah. So this is my next question is a fun question. If you could meet any entrepreneur for a coffee to pick their brains for an hour, who would it be and why?
Bezos, for sure. So PickFU, one of the reasons that PickFU scaled is because we help a lot of Amazon sellers, mom and pop, and even the largest, like top 15 Amazon sellers. We basically help them get market research on their products and their listings before launching on Amazon. And so over the years, I've learned a lot about the Amazon business and sort of the ecosystem that Jeff Bezos has built up with the third party seller marketplace, and I think it's just brilliant. And so, the more I read about Amazon and how they set up AWS on the tech side, third party marketplace on the front end, and so on, I mean, I think there's just a ton of brilliance there, and I would love to pick the brain of someone who thinks that way.
Yeah, a few people have brought up Jeff Bezos, and I think he is one of those unique entrepreneurs, like Elon Musk, that sort of you could take it either way because he is brilliant, but he's also built this huge business. And then you wonder, like, day to day, his activities, how did he get his mind from his little initial $300,000 investment into what it is today? So yeah, you'd be a fun guest to have on my podcast.
Oh, I know.
What is one newsletter or podcast that in your field for your business that you listen to stay up on trends?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think the one, this is a little more generic, but I find it really interesting, is the Invest Like the Best with Patrick O'Shaughnessy. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one. I think it's more from like an investment perspective, but he interviews a lot of really great thought leaders in different fields. And I enjoy listening. He has a great interview style, and I enjoy listening to him pick the brain of these thought leaders from different fields. And that helps sort of expand my thinking to be able to see how leaders in other spaces approach their problems.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of his podcasts, so I think he's quite brilliant as an interview. He's very natural, I find.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure he's taken so many years to practice that and sort of hone his skill.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to tell myself anyways, but I think he's a brilliant interviewer. And I agree with podcasts. I think listening to podcasts really helps businesses because there's so much, even if you take little bits and pieces from each of the podcasts, certainly in the business world, you get a lot of little bits of information that you wouldn't have thought of on your own. I find it, I listen to a lot of them myself as well.
I think one thing someone's told me or I read somewhere that stuck with me is that you're kind of the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I kind of see podcasts as ways to spend more time, spend that time with people who are very thoughtful and leaders in their field. And so that kind of hopefully helps things percolate a little bit.
Yes. Jeff Dumas of Entrepreneurs on Fire says that all the time at the beginning of the show. You are the combination of 5 people that you hang around the most. I remember before I started my podcast, I was sort of hemming and hawing because I felt like, you know what, I'm not very good at this. And at that time, COVID was hitting, and we were all on that new application of, I forget the name of it, where everybody would just start their own channel and talk. Audio House, I think it is, or
Clubhouse,
that's it.
Yes.
And he was hosting, or he was a guest on a podcast channel. Mm-hmm. And you could raise your hand and ask a question. And I just raised my question. And
That's
I remember
awesome.
asking, hey, how did you get so good? Because and he's like, don't go back 200 episodes. Like, don't listen to me then. Because you have to build it up. And I think that's exactly how people should look at everything they do, is just sort of build it up in little steps. So yeah. But I think it's brilliant. Anyway, that's my story with Jeff Dumas.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
All right. Where do you see your business and your type of business in 5 years moving forward? With everything that changes in AI.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I think AI just helps us. We're kind of at this shift. I mean, for lack of a better term, like I wouldn't say it's an inflection point or anything else, but there's definitely going to be a before and after the introduction of AI. As a service that prides itself on connecting business owners to real human feedback, high quality human feedback, I think there's always going to be a place for that. We look at AI as a really effective tool to help our customers, help us do our processes better, and then also to help our customers understand the humans that they're connecting with better. So for example, we actually just launched last week AI summaries for our polls, because on PickFU, when you run a poll, you can choose anywhere between 15 to 500 people. Now, we'll get you 500 high quality responses, but that might take you it might take a day for us to get you 500 responses, but it also might take a day for you to read through 500 responses, right? Especially if they're highly detailed, like the ones that our panelists do. So we're actually using AI to be able to take all those human responses, summarize them, and give you an executive summary of everything that your poll has said. And so now you can basically get the results, get the insights, and get back to action sooner. So that's kind of one example of how we feel AI is just going to help us go faster with our mission. Now, looking ahead, let's say 5 years, I think we still have a long way to go in terms of our mission. We have a lot more product to build. We have a lot more businesses to reach. We think that we are building the fastest, simplest, and best way to tap into target audiences for any business, any consumer-facing business. And we definitely have a long way to go to sort of keep building out our marketing channels, our verticals, our industries, and then also our integrations into like larger organizations.
That's brilliant. That's great. Sorry, my mute button got stuck.
Yeah, no worries.
I was like, wait. Why am I so mute? No, that's a great answer. And I love that. And I honestly think that AI is going to be incorporated in so many new
Totally.
SaaSes. And I think people are just looking at how to do it. And that's a brilliant idea of putting a summary together for people, because I agree. People tend to skim over the answers, what they're going to get, even the feedbacks. And when they do interview, I feel that a lot of them just sort of go fast. They don't want to spend the time they really need to, because it's a huge amount of time.
They want the cliff notes. Yeah.
Yeah. They just want to tell me yes or no. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So my last closing question for you is, what is one business book that you would suggest our listeners to read or listen to if it's an audiobook that changed your business journey?
Kind of an old classic, Crossing the Chasm. It's not the easiest read, but I thought it was a really insightful one. Sort of talking about, I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to read books like that or something along that line to basically normalize the trough of sorrow for new technology and new businesses, right? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, it is very easy to get excited about launching a new idea or a new product, but then inevitably you're going to hit a wall of disappointment because not everything is going to go perfectly as you go. And so sort of understanding technology adoption cycles and how, and like paradigm shifts in industries is really important to understand. Okay, well, things take, through technology adoption or whatever adoption. And so it just provided a really good framework for me to think about things as we were building out our stuff.
That's really great, because I've never heard of that book, so I'll definitely check it out.
Okay, cool.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and give us this amazing conversation and all this great information.
Yeah.
And we're going to add that book and how to reach out to you on our contact notes on our podcast.
Fantastic.
So thank you again.
Thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Business 911 is hosted and written by me, Olivier Bousset, and produced and edited by our talented podcast team. To listen to Business 911, you'll find us on all your favorite podcast apps, as well as YouTube. We hope you've enjoyed this interview and it's given you some valuable insights and helped you along your business journey. And if you have any comments or questions, please reach out to us. Thank you for joining us and listening to this episode of Business 911. A pitch deck in 60 seconds. We want to thank our sponsors, Pitch 2.0, a fully automated pitch creation and monitoring system, so you can focus on your product and not on the deck. You'll find them at pitch2.0.com.